Hello friends, it's Kristie Marcotte. Today I'm sharing the cards I made using Spellbinders September 2022 Card Kit of the Month. The theme is So Happy. If you are interested in the card kit or any of Spellbinders club kits, I do have links provided in the description box below. And for one of the cards, I'll also be using the September Embossing Folder of the month. They offer so many fun club kits. I received the card kit, the embossing folder, and also the large die of the month. So let's go ahead and get started with card design number 1. I will be using card sketches for inspiration. This first sketch is from Mojo Monday. It's number 405. And if you are interested in any of the sketches I use in this video, I share all of that information on my coordinating blog post. That link is provided in the description box below, or you can simply head over to KristieMarcotte.com. For this first card, I selected 3 different pattern papers. I have this lovely yellow floral design for that top piece, some blue flower paper for the diagonal strip, and a teal pattern that looks like stitching for the very bottom. I'm layering everything on some dark blue cardstock. The kit does include several sheets of colored cardstock, but I'll also be bringing in additional cardstock since I add a lot of layers to my cards. The white cardstock I'm using for the background is actually one of the card bases that's included in the kit. It has a nice linen texture. I don't use them for my card bases, but they're great for backgrounds, and I also like to add a sentiment or image on them. I've already stamped out the sentiment on a stitch circle die cut, and this is where I also used one of the white card bases, this time the smooth side. The sentiment is sending handcrafted hugs and hellos. I did cut out a second stitch circle die cut the same size and glued the 2 pieces together just to make it sturdier. And before adhering it to the card, I did put a small scrap piece of cardstock on the lower portion of that circle where it goes off of that floral strip. I'll add one of the floral die cut pieces, and I did pop it up with some foam dimension. Then a final finishing touch, I'll add a small banner in the upper left hand corner. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For card design number 2, the card sketch is from Sugar Pea Designs. This is Sugar Sketch number 21. I selected some pink and white grid pattern paper for the background, layering it on that same dark blue cardstock. I'll add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. All of my cards in this video are American Standard A2 size, 5.5 inches by 4.25 inches. For the 2 triangle pieces, I'm using the same yellow floral paper that I used on the first card. I rounded the outside corner, and I'm layering it on the same dark blue cardstock. For my cardstock layers, I generally add 1/8 of an inch to the measurements listed on the sketch. So the measurements on this sketch are usually for the pattern paper. If you prefer a wider layer, you can always add 1/4 of an inch. I'll put some liquid adhesive on the back and adhere both of the triangles in place. This is the first time I'm trying out this sketch, and I think it's a really fun design. For the 3 small banners in the upper left-hand corner, I'm using one pattern paper that has this fun stitched floral pattern on it, and the other 2 banners I'm using some solid cardstock. So I have the same dark blue, and I'm also bringing in this mint green color. I used my scissors to cut the fishtail on one end of the banners. Before adhering those in place, I will adhere a stitch circle die cut, and this time I used some white shimmer cardstock. So I'll adhere that in place, then I can add all 3 of the banners, and 2 of them will sit on top of that stitch circle die cut. Next, I'll add one of the floral die cut pieces, and I did put some foam dimension on the back side. I'll remove the release paper and adhere it onto the circle die cut. For the sentiment, I'm using one of the chipboard stickers. These do have adhesive on the back, but I like to add some liquid adhesive as well. And I'm also adding some scrap cardstock on the left side, trying to keep everything at the same level. I'll lay that chipboard piece upside down so I can see where to add those scrap cardstock pieces. I'll put a little bit of liquid adhesive on the back to adhere those in place. Decided to add 2 small scrap cardstock pieces. Then I'll adhere it underneath the floral bouquet more on the right side. Then to finish off the card, I'll add some gold sequins. These are not included in the kit, but they are made by Spellbinders. It's their gold smooth disc. I'll use an embellishment wand to help pick those up, add a small drop of liquid adhesive, then press them in place. Putting 2 of them in the upper left-hand corner and 3 around the sentiment and floral image. And I'll also add a little bit of glitter to the large yellow flower using a clear glitter brush. So there is my finished card, and again I did make 2 using this design. The sentiment for the second card is with love, and this is one of the stickers that's included in the kit. For card design number 3, the card sketch is from Sugar Pea Designs. This is Sugar Sketch number 50, and this is another new to me sketch. For the background, I selected this lovely pink and white polka dot pattern paper. I'll be layering it on some black cardstock and then again on a dark pink cardstock. I'll put my card front onto a card base. For all of the small squares, I selected this lovely floral paper with pink flowers. I cut all of those into 1.5 inch squares. I'll layer them on the same pink cardstock. I'm just using liquid adhesive to adhere those together. I have just one more square to layer. Then I can add all of my floral squares to my card. I'll use liquid adhesive to adhere them in place. That way I have a little bit of wiggle room to make sure everything is nice and straight. I'll start with the top 2 squares and then add the other 2 squares underneath. Trying to make sure to get even placement for all 4 of those squares. I cut these out using my paper trimmer since it cuts nice and straight, but you can also use a square die. Next, I'll add a few die cut pieces. I have 2 pink flowers with foam dimension on the back side, and I'll adhere those in the upper left-hand corner. And I also have this adorable little owl image in pink and teal. And I have some foam dimension on the back as well. First, I'll cut the banner that goes in the lower right-hand corner using some black cardstock. I'll put a small scrap piece of cardstock on the lower portion of the banner before adding it to my card. Then I'll remove the release paper on the back of the owl and have that owl sit right on top of the black banner. For sentiment, I'm using one of the stickers that's included in the kit. Decided to go with Do What You Love. I'll just tuck that in on the left side of the little owl image. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For the other card, the sentiment is thank you, since there's only 1 of each sticker. For card design number 4, I'll be using the September embossing folder. So I've already gone ahead and embossed some light purple cardstock, and this is cardstock that's included in the kit. I want to add a little more color and detail to that background, so I'm using some metallic gold ink. This is from scrapbook.com. Using a super fancy technique by dipping my finger right into the ink and rubbing it across the embossed area on the background. It'll help those embossed areas stand out more and leave a beautiful shimmery design. Now I'll put liquid adhesive on the back and adhere my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. And I'm using liquid adhesive instead of ATG tape since it is an embossed piece. The liquid adhesive will just ensure that it stays in place. Next, I'll add one of the chipboard frames. This is an embroidery hoop. It does have adhesive on the back, so I'll remove the release paper first. And I'm putting some white cardstock behind it. Now, even with the adhesive on the back of the frame, I'll still add some liquid adhesive. I want to make sure it stays in place on my card. Then I'll add several of the floral die cut pieces. I'll put some liquid adhesive on the back of the floral die cuts and add them inside my embroidery hoop. And using some of the dies that are included in the kit, I have the needle and also some thread. I used the silver mirror cardstock for the needle, and that is included in the kit. And I chose some yellow cardstock for the thread that matches the yellow flowers. Before adhering the needle and thread to the card, I'll first attach those 2 die cut pieces together. So I'm putting just a small drop of liquid adhesive on the back near the eye of the needle. And I'll set that aside and let that glue adhere. For the sentiment, this is a die cut piece, especially for you. And I did pop it up using some foam dimension. Now I'll add some liquid adhesive on the back of the needle and thread and adhere it on top of my embroidery hoop. Some of the thread will hang outside. There is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For the second card, I used a light green embroidery hoop chipboard frame since there's only one of each in the kit. Now moving on to card design number 5. The card sketch is from Sugar Pea Designs. This is Sugar Sketch number 8. I selected 2 different pattern papers. I have a purple grid paper for the background. Then for the smaller panel, there's some pattern paper with lots of colorful sewing machines. I'll layer everything on some dark purple cardstock. I did round the left 2 corners on the sewing machine pattern paper and also the cardstock. I'll adhere the sewing machine paper down first. I'll put some ATG tape on the back and layer this panel on some purple cardstock. Next, I'll add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. For the sentiment, I've already stamped it out. Friendship is sown with love and measured by kindness. Cut a fishtail on the left side and I'll layer that sentiment banner on the same purple cardstock. The white cardstock I stamped the sentiment on is one of the card bases that's included in the kit. I used the smooth side versus the linen texture side. Before adhering it to my card, I will put some scrap cardstock pieces on the very left and right side. Then I'll adhere it in place using some liquid adhesive. Now I'll add a couple of the die cut pieces. I have a measuring tape and also this adorable little snail that looks like it's supposed to be a pincushion. I did pop both of those up using some foam dimension. For embellishments, I'm using some Love from Lizi peel-offs. This is the mini circle style in the silver holographic color. I'll add 3 of them to the left of the sewing machine pattern paper. Then for a final finishing touch, I'm using a clear glitter brush and adding it to the snail's cheeks and also the top of all the pins. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. The snail image is absolutely adorable. For card design number 6, the card sketch is from Sketch Saturday. This is number 707, and this is another new to me card sketch. I selected 2 different pattern papers. The top piece has lots of different images for stitching or sewing. The bottom piece has this fun floral stitch design. I layered both of those pieces on some dark blue cardstock. Now I'll add a Love from Lizi peel-off. This is the gold moondust color in the pinstripe style. I'm using the medium width and putting it between the 2 pattern papers for a little bit of separation. Then I'll add my card front onto a card base, leaving 1/8 of an inch of the white card base showing. The cardstock for the image box is one of the card bases that's included in the kit. Layer that on the same dark blue cardstock. Then for those 2 small rectangle pieces, one of them I used the same dark blue cardstock and the other I selected a green cardstock that matches some of the colors in the pattern paper. Just adhere all of those in place. Now I'll bring in some of the die cut images. I have the sewing machine and I did pop it up with some foam dimension. I'll add that to the image box. Then I also have 2 spools of thread, one in pink and one in purple. The sentiment is one of the stickers. This is "Thank you so much." Then I'll add the 2 spools of thread in the lower left-hand corner. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. The sentiment for the second card is "No one does it like you." For card design number 7, the card sketch is from OWH. This is number 236. The white cardstock I'm using for the background is one of the card bases. I have the texture side showing. For the pattern paper, I selected this light bluish purple knit design. It's a very tone-on-tone pattern. Layering everything on some dark blue cardstock. For this card, my cardstock layers are an additional 1/4 of an inch versus the 1/8 of an inch I usually do. I'll put some ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. For the large banner, I use the same dark blue cardstock. I'll just adhere that in place using some liquid adhesive. And now I'll be using the dies that are included in the kit. They're so fun, you can create your own little embroidery hoop. In paper, obviously, not a real one. There are 2 different circle dies. You have the larger one, and the other is slightly smaller, so you can create your little frame. For the hardware on the hoop, the little tightening piece and the screw, I used the silver mirror cardstock that's included in the kit. I'll just adhere those at the very top of my embroidery hoop. There are several different flower dies and leaves, and I decided to go with just pink flowers. I'll just adhere all of those in place using liquid adhesive. For the smallest flower, I cut out 2 of the pieces. One has a pearlescent finish and the other is solid. Layered those 2 pieces together for a little different look on the flower. For the center of the larger 2 flowers, I used some yellow glitter cardstock. I will be popping up the embroidery hoop using some thin foam dimension. Make sure to get good coverage so there isn't one area that sags. Then I'll remove the release paper and adhere it to the left side of the card. Now I'll add the centers to the 2 flowers using liquid adhesive. Next I'll attach the needle and thread. I decided to go with the pink thread since I have all those pink flowers. I'll just adhere it above the embroidery hoop. Most of it will be on the pattern paper, so just the very end of the needle is sitting on the embroidery hoop. And since the needle is cut out of specialty cardstock, it was taking a little bit longer for the end of the needle to adhere to the card. So I decided to try my glue bottle. That wasn't working, so I put an acrylic block on top. It just helps to have that extra weight. Next I'll add 3 of the die cut pieces. This is all embroidery floss, and they all have positive sentiments. We have stunning, wonderful, and amazing. And I'll adhere those to the lower right hand corner using liquid adhesive. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. I personally don't sew or do any of the stitching, but I have family and friends that do, so I was really excited when I saw the theme of the card kit. For card design number 8, the card sketch is from Sugar Pea Designs. This is Sugar Sketch number 45, and this is another new to me card sketch. It's always fun to try some new card sketches. I selected this fun pattern paper for the background that has lots of colorful leaves, and some of them even have that gold foil finish. I'll layer the background on some dark blue cardstock. Then for the smaller rectangle, decided to go with some solid pink cardstock since I'll be adding lots of images and a sentiment there. I'll layer that piece on the same dark blue cardstock. For the 3 little stripes that are on the very right hand side, I'm adding some Love from Lizi peel-offs. This is the pink holographic color in the straight design, so it's a little bit wider than the usual pinstripe style. I'm using my craft knife to cut the very end. I love the holographic peel-offs. They are some of my favorite, so sparkly. Now I'll bring in several of the die cut pieces. There's a jar with buttons, there's some scissors, there's a package with buttons, and also a pin cushion. Some of the pieces I will pop up using foam dimension. The only one I glued down is the package of buttons. I'll add all of the images to the lower portion of this pink panel, and I will be overlapping them. For the sentiment, I'm using one of the stickers. This is Make Every Day Amazing. I'll add the sentiment in the upper left-hand corner above the images, and the very left-hand side of it will hang off of that pink panel. And then I decided to add one more sticker, a little heart button. For final finishing touch, I'll use a clear glitter brush and add it to the jar of buttons, the pin cushion, and also the small heart buttons. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. For the second card, the sentiment is You're So Special. For card design number 9, the card sketch is from OWH. This is number 219. This is one of my favorite card sketches. I selected 2 different pattern papers. I have the pink and white grid paper for the bottom, and then a light green and white stitched heart pattern paper for the top. For the narrow strip that goes across the card, I'm using some solid pink cardstock, and I did put some double-sided tape on the back side. So just remove the release paper and adhere that in place. I'm layering everything on some teal cardstock. For the very background of the card, I'm using another card base that I trimmed down. I'll be stamping this sentiment directly onto my card, so I'm using my mini Misti. I want to make sure to get a nice solid impression. The sentiment is so lovely, sweet, and wonderful. And I'll put some ATG tape on the back and add my card front onto a card base. I'm Also using a little bit of liquid adhesive since the back side of this green or teal cardstock does have a pearlescent finish. Next I'll add a stitch circle die cut, and I cut that out of some white shimmer cardstock. Before adhering it to my card, I'll put those scrap cardstock pieces down first, just leaving a little gap for that pink cardstock strip. I'll adhere that in place using some liquid adhesive. For the image on my card, I'm adding this adorable little pink and teal quail, and she's holding a little gold needle and pink thread. I did pop her up using some foam dimension. Then to finish off the card, I'll add a few silver sequins. These are not included in the kit, but they are made by Spellbinders. It's their silver smooth disc. There are 3 different sizes, and I decided to use the largest size and put them in the upper left-hand corner. Using my embellishment wand to pick those up, adding just that small drop of liquid adhesive and pressing them in place. So there is my finished card, and this is card number 9. This is one of my favorites. I love that sweet quail image. Now moving on to my final card design. This is number 10. The card sketch is from Sugar Pea Designs. It's Sugar Sketch number 53. I selected 2 different pattern papers. For the pink and white polka dot paper, I'm adding some Love from Lizi peel-offs along the very edge, and I also attached it to some solid white cardstock just for some extra stability. The pattern paper is fairly thin. The Love from Lizi peel-offs are the silver holographic color in the pinstripe style. Just wrap those ends around the back. The other pattern paper has lots of different sewing and stitching icons. And I'll layer that on some pink cardstock. Then I'll add that panel onto my white cardstock background, which is again from one of the card bases. I ended up using almost all of the 10 card bases that are included in the kit, just not for actual card bases. There's nothing wrong with the card bases that are included in the kit. I just prefer to use 120-pound cardstock. Plus I like to have my fold on the top side of my card, whether it's for a horizontal or a vertical card. Now I can add my pink and white polka dot strip. I'll just put some small scrap pieces of cardstock on the very right and left side first, then I'll adhere it in place using liquid adhesive. For the sentiment, I've already stamped it out, and I've used this one on a previous card, sending handcrafted hugs and hellos. I'll layer that on a pink circle die cut, and I will pop that up using some foam dimension. Next I'll add a few of the die cut images, 2 of the heart-shaped buttons, and also this sweet little, I think it's a bunny image, little pink bunny. Put her on the left side of the sentiment and the little buttons above the sentiment on the right side. Then for a final finishing touch, I'll use some more of the silver smooth discs. Put 3 of them in the upper left-hand corner and 2 in the lower right-hand corner. So there is my finished card, and I did make 2 using this design. The colors and designs in this kit are so fun, perfect for making lots and lots of happy cards. Now here's another look at the 20 cards I made using Spellbinders September 2022 Card Kit of the Month, and also the September Embossing Folder of the Month. The card kit theme is so happy. If you are interested in subscribing to any of Spellbinders club kits, I do have links provided in the description box below. They have so many different options. They have the card kit, embossing folder, there's a glimmer kit, stamp kit, and several different die kits. I also received the large die of the month, and I will have a separate video featuring that. In order to receive the kits I showed in this video, you do need to subscribe by September 28th. And Spellbinders now has a UK website where you can purchase their products and also sign up to their clubs. And I will have links for both locations in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.